Hello again, Michael here. This time we've got another story. A little story to tell about this, however. A few days ago, one of my sons that I haven't spoken to in probably 5 years got a hold of me and wanted to talk a little bit. And we talked, and it was a very nice conversation. And I found out that he has a wife that I've never met and a daughter that I've never met. So I'm really wanting to go visit them. They are in the Phoenix area. So hopefully I'll be able to do that this spring. His new wife really enjoyed the stories and told me that was her favorite videos. So I decided to do another story, and this time dedicate it to my beautiful daughter-in-law. So this story I call The Little Jeep That Couldn't. Many years ago in Arizona, I did a lot of gold panning. We would be out pretty much every weekend, go find some place to go gold panning, and we never found very much, but we had a lot of fun doing it. There was one place north of Phoenix, actually north of Lake Pleasant, called Cow Creek, and there was an area that was just perfect for panning manually. There were a lot of little potholes in the rocks, and you could dig the gravel out of there, and generally found some color in pretty much every pan. But then it got so popular, there were always people there, and then some jerks came that thought that they needed to be the only ones there, so they would bring their firearms and tell us that we all had to leave because we were on their claim. They had no claim markers, therefore it was not a valid claim. But what do? You're out there having fun and somebody's getting way too serious, so you'd leave. And we tried panning upstream from that area. Never had a lot of luck, but we kept trying further and further upstream. And one weekend, I took my friend Brian and his younger brother up, and we spent Saturday there. My ex-boss, Jim, worked on Saturdays, so he came up. He was coming up on Sunday. So on Saturday, we were tooling around in the desert there north of Lake Pleasant, and we were just having a good time. We'd stop and pan a little bit here and a little bit there, and we just had a really good time goofing around all day. And it started getting a little late, and we thought, well, probably ought to go look for a place to camp. So we went up north of Cow Creek a ways, and we found this side road. We're on a side road to begin with, but we found a side road off the side road that looked like there was a nice camping spot down below, but it was a steep climb down. Now the Jeep had been feeling funny all day. There was something about the way it was driving that was a little unsettling, but I couldn't say that there was anything definitely wrong. So we went ahead and we headed down the hill. We got camp set up, and we had us a nice campfire and cooked some steaks and some veggies, and we just had a good evening sitting around the campfire and talking, and then we had a pretty good night's sleep that night. We got up the next morning. Okay, well, we got to go meet Jim, and so we started getting everything packed up. We got in the Jeep, and of course it's in four-wheel drive mode, but we started up the hill and it couldn't pull it. The front wheels were spinning, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. So we tried it a couple of different ways, and we had no success. We couldn't even get started up the hill. So we went back down to bottom, and we sat there and we talked a bit. And we thought, well, we've got to let Jim know what's going on, because we may need him to help pull us up out of this, pull us up this hill. So we went up. We sent Brian's younger brother cross country to meet Jim. We weren't really that far from where we were supposed to meet him, and Brian and I just kicked back and waited. After a couple hours, then here comes Jim with Brian's little brother, and I showed him what the Jeep was doing when we were trying to get out, and started suspecting that there was something wrong in the rear end. But we had to get this Jeep up out of this little basin before we could do anything about it. So we always have a tow strap with us, and we took the tow strap and hooked it on Jim's Jeep, four-wheel drive mode, of course, hooked it onto mine and started up, and man, his Jeep just wasn't quite able to do anything, and it couldn't get us pulled up. We thought about it. We backed back down the hill and thought about it and talked about it, and finally what we did was we had everybody that wasn't driving pushing behind my Jeep. And it took us a couple of hours of pushing and struggling to get up out of that basin, but we finally did. And it was late enough in the day, we really didn't do any panning that day. Besides, with the problem, I wanted to get the Jeep back to town, but by this time I was pretty well certain that there was a broken axle on my Jeep. So we scooted on back to town. And the next day I took the Jeep in to a mechanic I knew, told him I thought that the rear axle was broken, and he checked it out, and sure enough it was. Fortunately, the way it broke, it was still able to freewheel without a problem. So he got that axle replaced and everything worked just fine. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, please press like and subscribe.